Hi, everyone. Whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, the first thing that comes to our mind is Alexa or a Siri or a sleek designed autonomous self driving car. But no doubt these are great achievements of mankind, but artificial intelligence is not just limited to it. There are endless possibilities for you and me to solve real world problems. But whatever you do, a word of caution: whatever you do it cautiously and ethically. And that's what the essence of today's session is. My name is Sarika Hussain, a quality expert, an engineer by qualification, and also artificial intelligence leader by choice. With my overall experience of 20 plus years, I'm here in front of you to share some of my wisdom in the field of artificial intelligence. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get started. So, as you all know, the topic for today is ethical applications in the field of artificial intelligence. I'm sure when I mentioned the word ethical, a question came into your mind that are there any unethical applications also? So the answer to it is yes, there are, and there is a dark side to it. And we will unfold it slowly as we progress with this session. But right now, let's move on to and take a glimpse of today's agenda. So today's agenda is I'll give you a quick introduction about myself. I'll tell you a story of artificial intelligence, like how did it all started, where are we today, and what's the future looks like. And I'll also share some of the interesting AI applications which might entice you. One of the most awaited area, ethical way, where I'll talk about the ethics in AI. And I cannot complete my presentation without expressing my gratitude towards great learning because I have achieved my skills and knowledge from this institute. So maybe I'll share some glimpse from there, and then you can decide for yourself what suits best to you. And of course, last section is Q&A, and where you can post your questions there. At the same time, you can also post some of the topics that you would want to listen so that the team can plan it accordingly. You can also share feedback about this session, whether you liked it, you didn't like it, anything to improve, and then accordingly I can also at personal level take those feedback from you and improve upon. So this is Sarika Hussain, as I mentioned, an engineer, quality expert, and an artificial intelligence leader. I also carry a couple of certification from live some of the renowned institutes like American Society for Quality. So I'm a certified Six Sigma Black Belt. And in my day-to-day life, I work on continual improvement projects and also translate on the customer advocacy side, translate customer escalations into systemic issue corrections. The other certificate is from the University of Texas, Austin, and Meckham School of Business, which is around artificial intelligence leader. And I strongly believe that whenever you get any kind of a bonus or an increment, I personally suggest you end up moving or buying materialistic things. But I personally would advise that spend or keep aside some part of it for your own in development. And I think that is the way to go ahead in your career, and you'll get prosperity along the way. There's another side to me, which I will unfold. But before that, let me tell you, I currently work as a quality improvement manager with Here Technologies. Here Technologies is the first location platform company, and I don't have to tell you about the power of location in today's world, because right from from your Facebook check-ins to your Swiggy's to Zomato to Uber and to your self-driving car, everywhere you are yourself experiencing it, and the future is all around location. So I take pride in being part of this organization. And the other side, as I mentioned about me, is that I'm also passionate about women empowerment. So in 2020, I also launched Lean in Here India network within Here Technologies, and this network gives a psychological safety for women to come forward and share their challenges, and we can address those and help them improve upon their skills and help them grow as well. So and it's part of Sheryl Sandberg's foundation, Lean In. So I also take pride in being part of that network. That's about me. Now let's move to the artificial intelligence story. So let me tell you the story. How did it all started? It's quite an interesting one. So it all started while we are hearing about artificial intelligence in last 1 or 2 years too much, but it all started in 1936, and where Alan Turing, he had a thought that can computer communicate with a text or a speech just like human, and with that thought he created a Turing machine. I don't know about if you all are aware of Turing test. So in this test, there used to be an evaluator, and he used to interact with two machines, and without knowing whether the machine, the which one is handled by human and which one is by machine itself. And during that interaction, the Turing test was considered to be passed if the evaluator was not able to guess which is a human machine, or which is the machine who is. So, which response is from human or from machine directly. So, that's where the thought itself got started. But the actual birth was in 1956, when during the Dartmouth research conference, John McCarthy, he and a group of scientists came together for the first artificial intelligence conference. And there the thought that they had was like to use conjuncture. Now conjuncture is more about the study basis, the learnings, and the study basis, the opinions, or maybe predictions. So around that, if we can improve upon the machine learning, and also if we can improve upon the intelligence to be, and can be they should be able to describe it in a such a precise manner that even can be mimicked by a machine, and they can act like human. So that was a very I would say the birth of AI, and that's why John McCarthy is called as the father of AI. Moving ahead, while this got started in 1959, a subset of AI, I would say, machine learning, which was nothing about this, which was more about like uh, giving the data to the machine so that it will start acting like human or make some decisions around it. So that was the initial thought, and so that was, I would say, the launch of machine learning there. And Arthur Samuel was the American scientist who is called the father of machine learning. Then came an interesting era of industrial revolution, about where I don't know if you have heard of Unimate. So Unimate was nothing but an robotic arm which was developed, and it the only purpose of it was to pick up things from one place to another, and was used in General Motors assembly line at that time. So that was, and it was functioning on its own. So that was in 1961 where that robotic arm was developed. Um In 1965, this is another one I want you to actually, before I talk about Eliza, I want you to think how were we chatting even before Yahoo or any messenger started. So, if you remember, there used to be a kind of a DOS environment, and we used to send message and receive message, and we were all excited about it. Something similar was Aliza. That's how it looked. But in this case, not a human to human interaction, but it was more like a chatbot, but in a DOS prompt, if you can visualize, where Aliza was responding to the users who had questions and all. So that's how the chatbot actually started. So far, we have seen all the American scientists and working on it. In 1970, that's where Japanese came into picture, and in that case, what happened is, now this was a much better developed robot, and not just an arm, but a complete human robot kind of thing. But a lot of and that's where measure the distance or the direction, they had these external receptors as ears and eyes and mouth. And so that's how it was developed. It was able to communicate with human, and it was able to talk in Japanese language. So that's interesting. That was how Webot. So if you get a chance, please go ahead, look for Lisa, look for Webot on Google, and you'll find some interesting thing. Now this is a little sad period, or a slowdown period for AI, which is also called as winter period, like from 1974 to 1980. What happened is, they considered the progress on AI kind of slowed down. The reason for that was that it required a high processing computers. It were like too expensive projects which were required, but there was no actual use case or utility of it, and that's where it kind of little bit slowed down the entire period from 1974 to 1980. Now the consequent question that comes to our mind is, then how did it all started right now? The reason behind is, today if you look all around you, there is a pool of data which is in millions and trillions of data every second, which is getting populated, which is right now difficult for human intelligence or humans to kind of handle it. And it's quite a manual way of handling it. And these data is actually helping, and we need a lot of data while we create to create an efficient model and evaluate it. I so that's one of the kick that we got in recent times, where um, we are listening about artificial intelligence a lot these days. So that's how it has started. Now that it has started, let's see what are the different stages of AI. Okay, there are basically three stages. First one is, we call it as artificial narrow intelligence. The other one is artificial general intelligence, and then is the level of artificial super intelligence. um, Today, if I say Alexa, it is a quite an sophisticated application of AI, but even that is a weak AI and falls under artificial narrow intelligence. Today, if I talk about the autopilot feature in Tesla, again it falls under the category of artificial narrow intelligence. If I talk about like Sophia, the most sophisticated robot that is there, again it falls under the category of weak AI, which is artificial narrow intelligence. The only reason for that is, these are, although it looks sophisticated, it is beyond our thought and imagination that things have developed. But ultimately, in the background, what's happening is they are doing specific tasks, and for that, they are getting the feed ins, and that's how it is operating. But right now, while the second level, which is artificial general intelligence, talks about the capability of machine to take decisions as per human intelligence, so which at that level we haven't yet reached, but there are discussion whether we will reach this stage or not. So that's debatable. But right now we have not yet reached this stage. And what is artificial super intelligence in that case? So now artificial super intelligence is more about, if I have to give a very good example, a little humorous one but real, is like the chitties of the world, okay, where they overpower human, and they learn by themselves, and they take their own decisions. So it surpasses humans. So that's about the artificial super intelligence, and this is more of a hypothetical stage, but still some of them do believe that we might reach this stage in coming years. So it's far away but not too far, but it might happen. So that's the debate which is going on. Moving to our next section, I wanted to cover this specific AI blueprint where I talk more about these three terms. So, most of the time, I've seen that artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, these are being interchangeably used. However, these are different disciplines, I would say, and different. It has different meaning. If I have to say artificial intelligence, so you can imagine artificial intelligence as a complete umbrella. Under that you have lot of other uh, things happening, like machine learning, deep learning. Now machine learning is a subset of AI, as I mentioned. uh, uh, it supersedes, I mean, artificial intelligence is the overall overarching thing. So machine learning is a subset where the decisions are made by feeding the data. So they need the labeled data, unlabeled data, and those kind of things, and that's where they take the decision. Whereas there is one more level of within machine learning, which is about deep learning, and it takes care of, it provides, so if machine learning is providing the algorithm, deep learning aids artificial intelligence through the neural network, uh, concept of neural network, to solve some of the complex problems. Now these are not, machine learning and deep learning are not just the two things which are under artificial intelligence. There is computer vision, there is natural language processing, there is expert systems, there is robotics, as I talk about. So there are multiple things within the umbrella of artificial intelligence, but I thought of covering these three because these are, people do get confused about. Now, if you have to imagine machine learning, I would say, look at this picture. And if I ask you, what is this? This is exactly nothing but machine learning. So, whenever you're trying to visualize machine learning, there is no other example like teaching. I mean, how do a kid learn? So, in case of kid, what happens is, here you have this book. Kid doesn't know which is kangaroo, which is lion, which is mouse. But what happens? It assimilates some data. So the first time you give book, these are the images that comes to his mind. Then you teach them that through some more instructions. So you label the data and tell them that this image is a lion, this image is a kangaroo, and that's where the child picks it up. Next time again you open the book and give it to the person, I mean to the kid, he will not be able to guess either all three or just one, depends on the capability of the kid. But with the repetitive of this, the kid learns. And that's exactly what happens with our all our models. So more and more data you feed, so that's where the person will, I mean the kid will learn. And that's how learning works. And that's how the decision making happens. I hope that clarifies and you would not forget what is machine learning all about. uh, Within machine learning, again, you have three streams here. One is supervised AI, the other one is unsupervised, and the third one is reinforced AI. Supervised is, you can imagine, just like a school, and you have a teacher who tells you exactly, if you are a parent of this kid and you will be training, that's this your supervised AI. In this case, you will provide the label data to the machine, and that's how, and also tell the machine what is the input and output. So that is known to the machine, and accordingly, you will just monitor it or supervise that model if it's giving you a correct data. And then that model is uh, that's how model is trained and tested on another set of data. The other one is unsupervised AI. In this case, we are not aware of the output, but we ask the model to actually figure out the hidden patterns and predict output. Maybe an example would help you here. For example, if you are buying a grocery from Amazon or any other retail platform, there is something called as market basket study that happens in the background. Okay, so every time when you go ahead and buy a bread, there is a kind of, after the study it has been, I mean, after the study they will evaluate all your purchases, and in the background the algorithm runs, and then it tells that every time a person is buying a bread, there is a possibility that the person also buys a butter or a jam, or these are two or three options. And that's how whenever you buy a bread, you will see people also bought these. So that's how the unsupervised AI is running in the background, which actually takes all these information and gives you output, which is helping the retail business and these platforms. The third one is a little tricky one. This one you can imagine. I'm not getting into technicality because it makes it easier with the examples and you won't forget it. So that's how I want to keep it at a very easy pace. Third one is more like, you can imagine yourself in an island. What happens? Initially you will be in a panic mode, but over a period you will learn from your surrounding. And exactly something happens in case of reinforced AI. In this case, the agent is pushed into an environment where there's a trial and error method that happens. So in every case, you try to predict what are your rewards and what are your errors, and that's how the agent works. And then this agent who is well trained is again used in a fresh environment. So that's these are the three types which I thought would be interesting for you, and this is how the overall uh, these AI types work. Lot of talking and the background on AI. Let's now move to some of the interesting applications. The first one is from JP Morgan, which is about Coin, which is contract intelligence platform. They use AI, machine learning, and image recognition to verify legal documents. So in this case, what happened is, like, if we want to say, and they use image recognition, so no, these are legal documents, it needs to be thoroughly checked, and that's where you can pass or provide an output. So for actually going through a legal documents of say around 20K documents, it roughly would take around 36,000 hours, human hours, man hours. But when this was deployed, within seconds, the results were out. So that's the speed at which it works. And how it was done, few of the clauses, few of the, so machine was trained to evaluate accordingly, and that's how it worked. The other one is IBM Watson. Now, in this case, I don't know if you're aware, but IBM Watson is being used for more than 230 healthcare organizations, and it's pioneer in the healthcare since 2016. So it cross-reference almost like 20 million oncology records, and it could detect a very rare leukemia condition, which maybe a human might not have been able to detect. So that's another thing. Facebook, we all are aware. So they detect the facial features and tag your friends. So that's very much you are already aware of and been using it. So I might not talk. One interesting thing from Twitter that I would like to share with you is like here Twitter identify hate speech and terroristic languages in tweets. So there's this algorithm working in the background, and basis that almost 300,000 terrorist links accounts were kind of banned, and 95% of it were identified by the AI that was used. And it's a combination of your NLP and AI and machine learning. So that's the last two. I might not take, I mean, go through it, but then I know Siri, Cortana, Google Assistant, Alexa, and many more. You are already experiencing it. Those are very niche applications. Autonomous driving, as I said, power of location and location intelligence definitely is empowering it, and we will see more of in coming years as well. Uh, the most awaited topic of the day. So maybe this is more about ethics in AI, which I wanted to talk about. And I am very much attached to this topic, and I feel quite close. That we should do something about it. And I think this entire essence of this session is this particular slide. So I know most of you might have heard of the phrase like garbage in is equal to garbage out. This equation everyone knows. And in computer science domain, definitely we have been using this, that whatever programming you do, but it also depends on what is the input that is coming. And in case of artificial intelligence, this the impact of this is quite severe on the society, for mere two or three reasons. First of all, we are not I mean, the scale at which we are operating with the help of AI. So the pool of data, the streams of data that is there, definitely when we are working on that, the output or the impact will be equivalent. And that's one area. So the scope is quite large, and to get impacted. The second one is about the analytics that comes. So there is little bit, when machines are making those decisions, at times it's very difficult for us humans to explain why this decision was made, because there are n number of data points that has been taken by the model, and that's where it has. And for us to go back and reference and check, it's little. So the transparency part of it is a little challenging there, and there can be some kind of so that's another challenge. The third one, where actually so we need to be and third one is where it is about AI plus human interaction. So whatever analytics or insights that we get from our models, we human and organizations do build policies upon it, and lay down our procedures basis that, considering that to be like, okay, it's a data oriented decision kind of. But we need to be very much cognizant about the fact that whatever decisions or policies that you're making, that needs to be, I mean, on the basis of ethics. So there is a chance of biasness about those happening. So these are three areas which I personally get paranoid about and stressed also at times. But then on and some examples, if I have to share, like gender bias is one of the area, while in real world we are doing a lot of things to eliminate gender bias. But maybe some of the fields that you use about gender, male, female, and things like that, and how the decisioning happening, or maybe the interviews conducted, or decisions for, so any kind of automation for promotion, or HR related activities. So there can be that element can also be looked at. The other area is about the medical area, where if we are able to predict the genetic disorder in fetus, there is a chance of termination. We take a decision of terminating the pregnancy. So that's a loss to humankind. While the prediction, if it's correct, well and good. If not, then what? So it's quite debatable there in some cases, like racism, where the mortgage prices or the policies, as I mentioned. So there can be some policies which can be laid, which can be disastrous for some set of part of society. So completely relying on it will be little difficult, but people like you, me, or others who are building these models have a moral responsibility to actually look at it. And when you build, make sure like these code of conducts are in place, and you have some those ethical list of things that you use it. And I While the story looks a little negative and dark right now, but then there are efforts being made. So as I mentioned on my slide itself, that there is this study where the principles of designing artificial intelligence system are being used using the code of conduct. Google published its own ethical code of practice in June 2018 in response to some of the criticism. So, and right now we have a consortium of Amazon, Google, Facebook, and all those top giants who are coming together to share the best practices, and also address these ethical practices as well. And they also provide some inputs to media and other teams on how they are building it and what are the things that they are taking into consideration and all. So story is not completely negative. There are things being done, but every person has that moral responsibility to work on this. Just in case you're thinking like, how will I get to know where do I stand? So then this picture also gives you some direction, not completely, but some direction, that how will you assess your ethical position. So first of all, understand whether this whatever you're doing is legally done. The second thing you should understand is it legal? First of all, ask yourself. Ask if your organization policies procedure are in line with it, whatever you're developing. And then definitely technical capability. So if you have so that would be your ethical position, and that's how you can take it. Okay, lot of serious talks. So, and I think you should choose your battle and take it ethical way. As I said, a lot of serious talks. Let's change the channel and get a little relaxed. And this is, as I mentioned, I can't stop myself from expressing my gratitude to great learning, through which I have acquired my knowledge and enhanced my skills. And this is my perspective, and this is just one slide, but it will give you an experience of how great learning my journey of with great learning has been. And I think this is how this one slide will answer all your questions, and then you can take a call how you want to proceed. This is my view, that this very much fits to the fits and process for skill acquisition. And I see that initially, through great learning, so I went through like a 4 months course. And initially, if I have to say about the basic learning, so initially we had these weekly videos published, and we went through it. We made some mistakes, so these mistakes were captured by some of the weekly quizzes which were happening. So that's how we got the basic knowledge of artificial intelligence. By then I just had went through some of the videos, and that was the basic knowledge that I had. But I think some new skills I learned at this stage, where I went through the videos and things like that. The other post these Yes. So there was another area where we used to get external feedback, is like we had intervention sessions with the faculty every weekend for 2 hours, and that's where we could clear our doubts and share and learn from them. And a lot of applications even they used to share. So that's how we learned, even from external their feedback as well. And so that was the first level. The second level I could associate, it was associative, where after every module, maybe first or second module didn't have, but then after that we had like submissions about that module, which was more about practical application, or understanding how much you understand, a kind of a case study. And it was not pertaining to say IT industry, it was for finance or some other banking or any other sector. And that's how we used to go through that case study, share our interpretation, and answer those questions, and which model I will use. And so more of like practice we used to do of whatever we have learned at this stage. The third one, I think autonomous, is the capstone project that they provide. And here we had a group of three of us, and this was completely autonomous, no intervention from the faculties. Where we ourselves identified our own business case. It was more like you're as if you're starting your own startup, and we built that entire presentation we shared. And this was also in two phases, where in phase one, when we went ahead and shared with them, we got some so when we are doing this, we also have internal feedbacks that okay, is it right, is it wrong. It's basically with the discussion with the teams. And we delivered those presentations on capstone, and with the faculty. And it was a great experience. So there was no intervention from the faculty directly, except during the presentation, like you were given the feedback that this how this could have been much better. So I conclude this with I would say that in the first stage it's more about learning the basics that we did. Later on we just practiced with those submissions, while these two were going parallel. And last one, the capstone project, I think I'm not a pro a while, but the aim for autonomous stage was for us to become a pro. So I would say I'm not a pro, and everyone has some area for improvement. But I'm trying to be, and taking shots in that direction as well. And after doing all of it, I'm not a pro, but definitely I have my prized possession, and that's nothing but my certificate. So this is the certificate I received after completion of my uh, this PG program, and I'm quite happy about it. Every time I see this, I feel proud for it, that I invested in something valuable. And definitely this puts you at a level which and creates a differentiator among your peers and colleagues. So that's all I had for today's session. And as I said, if and for any questions, so I'm open for questions. Just in case you have any queries, even at a personal front, or you want me to be part of this any kind of a speaker session, you can also contact me personally or through Rate Learning, whichever you feel comfortable. So I'm open for questions right now. Let me see if I have. Okay, I got one question from Aishwarya, and she's asking, "Ma'am, is there any robots working quick like Chitti in any country?" One robot that I can talk about is about the social humanoid, which is Sophia, and it has been developed by Handsome Robotics. So it would be really great if you can search on Google and see some of her videos. And I saw one of the video where she was being interviewed by the immigration department, and all the answers, all the I mean, it was very convincing that she is a human being, and even the she looks beautiful. So maybe just have a look, Aishwarya, and you will be excited to see that. Someone asked me, how would you describe AI to a non-technical person? Okay, so for a non-technical person, AI is something, I don't know if you are aware of automation. So automation is normally like, okay, you give. Uh, okay, let me explain it via maths. Like when you know that you have 2 plus 1 is equal to 3, this is the simple equation. I'm sure you can understand. Now in this case, if it's given to your child that, okay, this is something like an addition that is happening, but then over a period, if you change those numbers, will the output will be 3 or 5 or 4? That's something maybe the machine should be able to guess and also predict some of the things. It's not like easy computation, but it's more of learning that happens, and that also happens with experience. So you need a lot of data behind to actually understand the learning of it. And I kind of explain like how a child learns with my example. I think that should also be clear, because the child doesn't always on that book, he will not rely on lion on that book. But if you give over a period, it will create an image behind about lion, and any other book if you pick and give it to child, over a period it will tell you, okay, this is line. So that's about artificial intelligence also, which is very close to human intelligence but not reached that level. uh, okay, one more question is, how will AI impact application development? Um Not just application development, but even in IT sector. I think AI ops is something we which should be looked at, and it is readily. You have vendors, and you can actually pick up and implement it in your organization if required. And that's one of I feel is a good practice, because there are tons and I mean millions, trillions, as I mentioned, amount of data issues also, which are prevailing. Like there are a number of outages that happens in IT industry, and everywhere sending a human is just impractical. And that's where through the analytics we get the feed at regular intervals, we can actually see, and the machines also learn. and over a period machines start giving those solutions. Machine starts understanding the root cause of the problem. It starts itself giving solutions, and then only those issues which machine cannot solve comes to human. So that's how it becomes effective, and a lot of business problems are actually resolved before even it happens. So that's one area, like for IT I could say that that can be one of the things that can be implemented. uh, Okay, someone asked me like whether AI ML replace Six Sigma. Let me tell you, these two are different domains, as not domains but different way of problem solving. For Six Sigma, it's more about continual improvement that we look. Definitely, these two can tie, because when you go into problem solving, the structured problem solving method, and you reach at a stage where you have to ideate for solutions, when you have to implement solutions, you can definitely use AI applications as one of your solutions, and your project will be like a hit in your organization. So that's how they they can be tied to each other, might not get replaced, I would say. uh, So, question is, can someone from the non-technical background, humanities, pursue the analytics program? What are the future prospects? Definitely, all the non. So AI is basically across all domains. So when I went through the course, I had some of the people who were from fashion industry. Now you would ask why fashion industry needs an AI. They do need, for the mere reason that, okay, how should be the display of the store, what are the latest brands going on, what, so those kind of information they can, and so they can predict actually that what the person might like. So AI is cross, I would say, cross domain. So any domain you pick up, it can be applied. It's just about having a data available for you to build a model, and kind of even in the makeup industry, no one would have thought. But then even those industries are coming up. Agricultural. Now these are not, I mean, not a technical industry, but you name it, and it's there. Even in I mean, of course, finance, stock prices, so people are predicting stock prices, might be right, wrong, but they are utilizing some of these practices also for other domains. So someone asked me about what is the difference between strong and weak AI. So then I have to go back to my slide, this slide. So artificial narrow intelligence is called as weak AI. So anything in which uh, you want AI to run for a specific task, and you give a set of tasks, that's where, and you want the model to perform, that's where those all are your weak AI. So even if it looks sophisticated, but in the background you are providing the data, it's not running on its own. It is not taking intellectual decisions like humans. It doesn't have the capability of having those logics and reasonings in place like humans. So those all are weak AI. Strong AI, as I mentioned, it is when these machines will reach to a level of human intelligence and will have those capabilities of making those decisions. So that is, again, these two are still hypothetical situations. Currently each and everything is under artificial narrow intelligence. Maybe in future, you never know, you might have some application in strong, but as of now, all are weak AIs. and that's where we stand. So for us to reach the super intelligence level, we still have time. And I don't know if within our generation we reach that super intelligence stage or not. And then there was one more question about what's the difference between AI and ML. So again, my this slide. So AI is nothing but artificial intelligence, which is the umbrella. So anything and everything that's happening under the where the machines are learning and predicting, and so that's the entire thing. So it can be machine learning, deep learning, and machine learning is a subset of AI. I think that gives a much clearer picture that learning is a part of artificial intelligence, and machine learning learns from the labeled data or the data which is provided, and the decisions are accordingly made. So that's how, with the algorithms and all, it aids artificial intelligence. So that's the difference between both. I don't see any more. What happens if AI replaces human in workplace? Uh, AI cannot, at this stage, as I mentioned, we are still at the stage where we are under weak AI. So definitely there are a lot of work that um, can happen with the help of AI, but definitely you will always need a human to monitor and predict it. I mean, monitor and control it. So I don't. I mean, there would be an impact on the manpower reduction and all if AI is like being used to the fullest. But right now it's in the initial stage, and every time you will need. So as I gave an example of say in case of an IT industry, there are multiple outages that are happening. So not for every small little thing you need to run around. So only the niche areas where your intelligence is actually required, so you will do actually those work rather than doing a monotonous job. So those entire thing will be taken up, can be taken up by artificial intelligence, and it has a lot of advantages in that area. So but then yes, might be that the manpower reduction and other things, those decisions might come in the organization as we implement artificial intelligence, but not complete replacement of workforce can ever happen. There is one question on AI. Can AI be implemented to solve economic inequality? So, for there can, I mean, these things can be resolved to an extent, but again, you need to have a proper use case. What is that you want to implement, and what is the problem? So underlining problem should be very clearly defined, and then you can actually brainstorm and come to a solution. So AI can be one of the solution for it if you have a proper use case, that what is that you want to predict. One thing that people at times get confused with autonomous automation versus artificial intelligence. And because today artificial intelligence is a lot talked about topic, a lot of people end up that, okay, I want to start artificial intelligence, or I want to build a model. But always remember business first. And if something can be done with automation, please go for automation rather than building an entire artificial intelligence model, because it requires at times a lot of data and information, and it will be a humongous task also. So don't just jump, use common sense. Wherever automation is required, we should be using automation, and wherever some kind of a prediction or an opinion based output is required, that's where we should move to artificial intelligence, and not just jump to artificial intelligence because it's a hot topic. I think there are no more questions for me right now. Thank you so much for being part of this session today. And I believe, hope you liked it. And as I mentioned, your Q&A box is not just for your questions, but also share the topics that you would want to listen to in future. And also let me know feedback about my session, so that we can someday cross. And if your organization or your team needs my support, please reach out to me on this email ID, and I'll be happy to help. Thank you so much.